Here's the starting place for a narrative, which I've never been able to get on beyond the first sentence. Okay, a guy goes into a bookstore and he sees the hit paperback. It's a real life biography. Okay, it's about a Dennis Nielsen or a Sutcliffe or whoever, and it's about a murderer who has not yet been found. It's about somebody who has committed murders across an entire city, New York or London or whatever else. And he goes and he's a nice businessman, he's a nice, ordinary middle-class guy with kids and a family and so on. And he picks up this thing and he looks at it and he flicks through the murder photographs which are inside, you know, the murder scene photographs. And he says to himself, I did this. I did this. This is me. This is my story. This is my biography. In other words, it's Jekyll discovering that he's Hyde. Yeah. So you start with the moment where the guy picks up his biography and says, my God, it's me.
The second scene might have a woman looking at the book and saying, my God, it's me. And the third scene might be another man looking at the book and saying, it's me. Because in the 19th century science and psychology that Stevenson dealt with, it was the individual scientist. And if you think back to the workings of scientists, it was generally one inventor, whether it was Benjamin Franklin earlier or Thomas Edison or somebody like that. But if you think of science today, it isn't one inventor. It is a group of scientists working for a university or a corporation or the government. So if you took the analogy of one man, Jekyll, in the 19th century and moved it to our collectivist, although collectivist is not a good word these days, society, it could then be a number of people, if not everybody, but that might be a little bit difficult to dramatize if you went for everybody.
You lose your audience then,
right.
I think.
On the other hand,
well, you bring them in.
It's you. Everybody in the audience is a potential.
But then what we've got is a story in which an experiment has been done by a large group of people.
Yes.
Maybe, let's say half a dozen people?
Yes. 3
men, 3 women. An experiment has been done to inquire into the nature of human evil. And something terrible has happened as a consequence, which has both divided these people in the sense that they've been able to go out into the world and do these terrible things, but has also made them forget that they ever did it. Which isn't implausible.
Yeah.
It's been such a terrible experience, this confrontation with their secret selves, that they have simply blanked it out from there.
In a weird way, it could take us back to the Auschwitz situation that we were talking about earlier. That wasn't one person, that was a group of people who did it. And I feel very much that a work of entertainment should work on several levels.
Yeah.
But on one level, it is an entertainment, and underneath, it does have some meaning, if to the writer or the creator, if to nobody else. But it's that meaning underneath that gives solidity and strength to the structure. Right.
I think these people could all be not necessarily working together, but working in different countries, in different groups, because usually when something's discovered, it's not one little group working in England or America. It's across, you know, around the world. But they are now connected with each other.
But why do they do it?
Why do they murder?
But also, what's triggering them?
Why do people murder? Why? Yeah, exactly.
Power.
What makes them murder?
Control. The ultimate control is making somebody's breath cease or making it stop.
Is it?
Well, except that we're already, I
Sounds me
think, once you move from the individual to this group thing, that these are the metaphorical equivalents of camp commandants or whatever, the feeling is that you want to find something beyond that, some kind of single guiding intelligence, and it's not so much why they did it as who made them do it. I mean, maybe the 4th scene after Roger's 3rd scene is that somebody says, he thinks it's him, she thinks it's her, he thinks it's him, it was none of them, I planted something in these people which is now awakening for the millennium.
All right, then I want the ritual murders of all these 6. I want there to be something Kabbalistic about this.
Okay.
I want these 6 murderers around the world killing particular numbers of people in particular locations to be awakening a larger, darker force.
It's the dawning of the new millennium or the new
It's the dawning of the
society.
bad news.
And also, they become while they're doing this, whatever it isn't just a matter of discovering, oh my God, it's me, how awful, I must stop.
Yeah.
It's also their other selves, the people they are when they murder, have a tenacious hold on life, as did Hyde. They want, and what this new world they're bringing into being is for them. It's going to be good for them.
All right, but the difference is Hyde is also sexually motivated. There's also sexual satisfaction in what Hyde is pursuing, at least sensual satisfaction. Do we need, I think we need sex in this movie.
You need sex in every movie.
Yes, I think there's always sex
And here's a
in
man
every-
who's made himself a very rich man by doing it, by proving it.
But I have a problem. Can I bring up a problem? I'm not
Yeah.
scared yet.
Good.
This is all it's all right in here.
Yeah.
I'm not scared yet.
But this is all pre-credits.
I'm
John,
not
don't worry
terrified.
about
Well, I'm not terrified yet. And somebody opening a book and realizing he's a murderer, I'm having trouble identifying. Well,
It's not
as an audience member, I have to identify with characters on the screen, and things have to happen to them. And the person opens a book and says, you know, I dreamt that, and I'm the murderer, and I'm nodding my head as
Yes.
an audience member, and I don't feel my blood pressure rising or my heart beating. Where is the sequence?
Is it because he's not an innocent? I mean,
Because
does
I
it,
have to
Because we don't know
identify-
anything about him.
Because
If you
as an
begin-
audience member, I have to identify with something on the screen that says, okay, that's me.
Yeah.
That's a quality in me.
yeah.
And oh my God, something's going to happen to me.
So, all right, so,
So the first thing we have to do is be scary. The worst thing you can have is a horror movie that isn't scary. No one will come. The millennium will arrive. We will end up living in poverty. We've
And
got to
that's
get
the
a
scariest
studio to
thing of
make
all.
this picture. We've got to go in and talk to the head of the studio, and we've got to say, here is why you're going to wet your pants when you see this film, because
Right.
it's going to scare you.
right.
And the problem with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I agree with you, is that intellectually, it's one thing, but it doesn't frighten
I
me.
was just saying, maybe it's just the approach. You don't begin with someone you don't know, discovering that he's
I
a
was
murderer. It
thinking-
means
sure.
nothing.
I mean,
Who
so that
can
might
make
be
it
a
scary?
structural
Which
problem.
one of us
We
can make that scary? I mean, we can make it work as a drama, but where does the fear come?
Well, that's
Where
where I
do
think
I jump?
Lisa's right.
It
I think it's a
might,
structural thing. You don't start with that. I don't know what we do start with yet, but
Well,
I think the
we
thing that's
start-
going to
But
scare
Roger's
us
second
is,
scene
is
interests
the
me.
sleeping dragon.
Where do we go from there?
It might be that one or more of these people says, my God, it's me. I killed. I will kill again, but I don't want to kill again. And maybe there's some fear coming out of that. The person who is driven either singly or as a portion of a group to kill knows he's going to kill and saying, I will not kill. And I think within that conflict, they
But you
come
see, for me, my problem is that I don't find the notion of murder, being murdered in my bed, hugely scary.
maybe murder itself is too simple a concept. And so when you say, my God, it's me, it's not only murder, it's something beyond that. Whether you go into a supernatural, whether you go into a psychological, whether you go into genetic engineering, whether you go into something that we don't know.
It is,
So-
I'm a monster.
Yes, and I'm a
Discovery.
monster if we're talking about the turn of the century, the turn of the new century. I am a monster in a new way, unknown to people before. A new type of monster, a new type of horror, something that says time has passed. I think these basic fears have been with mankind forever, and very possibly will be. But the way in which they're approached, the way in which they're interpreted, changes from age to age. So it's still the concept of murder, but it's a new look at murder. It may not even be murder itself. It may be simply the changing of a person into something else, which would be the murder of the earlier persona and the emergence of a new, either better or more evil persona.
But I think we're still talking in intellectual realms. I still think that the movies work best when they present you with an image which you go, whoa.
Yes.
I mean, you know, and you're kind of almost shocked by the newness of the image.
Your popcorn has to fly.
Your popcorn has to fly.
You're watching the movie with a sack of popcorn and you're eating it. And it goes. That's scary.
That's,
Hey, no,
that's
no, no.
also a jump. And do
And
we
you grab your girlfriend